this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make the seed bead and pearl bracelet. It's just kind of a geometric shape, very easy pattern with just 6mm pearls and seed beads. And I'm going to go ahead and put it on so you can see what it looks like on the wrist. And we will then take another peek at it and go into the material list. So this is what it looks like on the wrist. It's really very pretty. You can do this in any color scheming that you would like. I've kept mine kind of mellow in rose gold and Montana gold colors with kind of a yellowish pearl, but you could do this and make it very Southwest looking if you want to do like a turquoise color scheming. If you wanted to do something very bright and pretty, you could use a 6mm round crystal. In this, you can probably get away with a rondelle, also a 6x4, something like that, rondelle, and make this sparkly if you would like to. It's going to change looks with the color scheming and the beads that you choose. So let's go ahead and take this off and just let you look at it real quickly. And that's what that looks like. And let's go ahead and look at the material list and get started with this project. Okay, for this project today, we will be using a series of seed beads. I'm using all Tohos, and I'm using 2 colors of 15-0 and 2 colors of 11-0 and 1 color of 8-0. I have rose gold permanent finish in my 15-0, 11-0, and 8-0 here. And then for my other color of 11-0, I have Montana gold, and I have a Montana gold 15-0. I am also going to be using a 6mm round pearl. This is a glass pearl, and it is an orangish yellow color. You can use any color pearl you want. I don't remember the exact name of this one. And then we'll be using a clasp. I'm going to use this little rose gold colored toggle clasp, and I'm going to be using Fireline. I'm going to be using 6-pound Fireline in the smoke color. I'm also going to be using a size 12 beading needle. Don't use thread that is larger than 6 pound because it will not accommodate sewing through these beads as many times as we need to if you do. So use a size 12 beading needle and 6-pound Fireline or 10 or 8-pound nanofill, and put about 4 to 5 feet onto your needle. You will need to extend during this project, extend your thread. So I will have a link for a video that will show you how to do that in the description box beneath the video player. So gather your things together and let's get started. Okay, to start this project, we're going to pick up 4 8-0 seed beads onto our needle, and we are going to bring them to the end of our thread. So just bring it all the way down to the end. You don't have to leave a long tail, but leave enough so that your beads don't slip off. You can hold on to it and tie a knot. Then we're going to go up through the first bead on the tail side, hold on to the tail thread, hold on to that bead, and pull your working thread through until you can bring all the beads together like this. Then we're going to sew back through this entire thing. So begin to sew through the next bead. Hold on to it between your fingers so that it doesn't slide off your thread and do all kinds of weird things. And then just continue all the way around until you get to where the working thread and the tail thread meet. And here we're going to tie a knot. So just cross your working thread over your tail thread, put your tail thread through the loop twice. And then pull a knot down between your beads and tighten it. And you should have something like this. Then we are going to sew away from our knot. So we're going to go into the bead next to the knot. So we have a little knot between our beads. We're just moving away from it. And then we are going to go into the next bead also, just so we're on the opposite side of the tail, just like this. Then we're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead, and we're going to go from this bead, we're coming out of this side, we're going to go into the opposite bead in the opposite side, so at a diagonal. So just pick up your 11-0, go into this bead on this side, and we're going to pull this needle through, pull the thread through, and just kind of guide that little bead on top of the unit, just like this. And this is what you should have. Now we are going to go down into the next bead. So you're coming out of this bead here, you're going to go into this bead. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start the clasping for our unit. So what we are going to do is we're going to work out of this bead and this bead. We're going to pick up two 11-0 seed beads and an 8-0 onto our needle. And I'll show you what I have if I can ever get one. Come here, you little bead. All right, so this is what you have. We're going to drop this down to our piece. Then we're going to pick up a clasp and go through the loop of the clasp and bring it down to the beads. And it can just kind of sit loose above it a little bit like this. Then you're going to go back into the 8-0 and just the 8-0. Ignore the two 11-0s underneath it. Put that 8-0 between your fingers and just pull your thread through. And guide that clasp down to the 8-0. Now, I'm going to move my thread over to this side because I want to basically straddle this bead here. So we're going to pick up two more 11-0 seed beads, and then we're going to go down into, let's see, we're coming out of, yeah, that's right. We're coming out of this bead. We want to skip over a bead and go into a bead on the other side, right here. It was positioned, I couldn't tell where it was coming out there for a moment. Things move around, so if you have to check what you're doing, check what you're doing. And I'm just pulling this down so that the 11-0s are over the top of this 8-0 here. Now we're going to sew around the unit. I'm going to take my tail down some just so that it doesn't bother me so much. And I'm coming out of this bead here, I'm going to go into the next bead. And then I'm going to sew all the way around and up into the clasping. So I'm coming out of this bead, up into the two 11-0s on this side, the 8-0, and into my clasp. And then I am going to go down through the 8-0 and the two 11-0s on the other side, and the 8-0 that I am attaching to. So just like this. I'm going to hold on to it and pull this down. This is very small, and yes, I realize my fingers are covering it, but I show you in between exactly where I'm placing things, so you should be able to see it regardless. Now, we are going to anchor these beads to this 8-0 just so that this extension that we've made doesn't flop over that 8-0 seed bead when we wear it. So we're going to go into the next 8-0 here. We're going to go into the 8-0 on the side and the 11-0 above it, right here. Then we're going to pull our thread through, and we're going to go into the 8-0 next to the 11-0 you're coming out of, right here. The one that we skipped when we put on our clasping, and go through it. Then we're going to go through the top of this 11-0 on the side that we just came through. And we're going to go into the 8-0 underneath it. Because when we put our thread through on this side, it was coming out of the top of this 11-0. So when we go through the 8-0, we want to go down through the top of the 11-0 on the other side. Now, Let me get my tail out of here. I'm going to sew all the way up around the entire thing again to secure my clasping. So let me see if I can get rid of this tail a little bit and go into all of the beads again. So I'm through the bottom, I'm going through the side 8-0 and the 2 11-0s right here. And I'm going to get in just a little bit closer, and then we're going to pull this through. Then we're going to go up into the 8-0 and the clasp here. Then down into the 8-0 again, and sometimes you just have to move your clasp out of the way because it gets tight. So I'm going to go into this 8-0 by itself, and then I will go into the 2 11-0s on this side and the 8-0 beneath them, just like this. Now your clasping is secure. You can sew all the way around this one again if you would like to make sure you have 3 passes of thread through the clasp itself. That's fine, you can do that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this tail thread completely down and get it out of the way. And I think I may go ahead and sew through this one more time, just because it looks as if my beads aren't quite tight enough, my 11-0s. So I'm going to go ahead and sew through it one more time, just to keep my clasping nice and neat. And I'm going in up through the 8-0. So it's exactly the same thing I just showed you. I'm just going through it one more time. Down into the 8-0 and then into the 11-0s on this side. And then into this 8-0 here. I'm going to turn my piece, pull that tight, and now I have drawn my little 11-0s a little tighter up against the sides of this 8-0. That way it looks a little bit neater. And now I'm going to go into this 8-0 seed bead right here. We are going to begin by picking up 12 11-0 seed beads, and I'm going to use my Montana Gold color to start with. So I'm going to pick up 12 of these, 3, 6, 9, and then 12. Okay. I'm going to bring these down to my 8-0 seed bead, just like this. And then I'm going to go into the opposite side of the 8-0 that I'm coming out of, just like that. And now you should have a circle right underneath your clasping here. And we are going to sew through this, and as we sew through it, we're going to add an 8-0 seed bead between sets of 3 beads. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to pick up 3 beads right here. So you're just going to go through 3 11-0s and pull your thread through. We're not completely tightening this circle because of the fact that we need some space to put our 8-0s in. We're putting them, inserting them in between sets of 3. So we're coming out of 3, we pick up an 8-0, and then we go into the next 3 right here. Oops, sorry guys. There's an 11-0 that's being resistant here, and I don't really know why. There we go. So now I'm just holding on to it like this, and I'm holding on to the bottom 3, and I'm just guiding my thread through so I can pop that bead up in between those beads, tighten everything, and it goes right where I want it to. Then I'm going to pick up my next 8-0 seed bead. I am going to go through the next 3 11-0s right here. I'm going to hold on to it and gently pop it in there. Now if it goes sideways, it twists, it does weird things, won't go in between, just guide it until it looks like this. Then we're going to do that one more time here. So pick up another 8/0 and then go into the next 3 11/0s on your piece. Don't go into that 8/0, just the 3 11/0s right here. And pull this down. Untwist it and make sure it just guided in, pulling on your thread until it looks just like that. They'll be somewhat outside the 11/0s, and that's what we want. But we don't want them twisted, and we don't want them not actually engaging next to the 11/0s. They need to be in there nicely. Now, to make this bead basically do the same things as the others, we're going to pull on this bottom a little bit, and we're going to go from this 11/0 seed bead over to this set of 3 11/0s and go through them. And you can slide down into that 8/0 also, just like this. Now we're going to pull this thread until it comes down beneath this 8/0 seed bead, and we can pull our beads down and basically make a little triangle here, just like this. And you're going to see a tiny bit of thread underneath your 8/0s. That's okay, because we're going to cover that, so don't worry about that. This is just positioning our beads so that they're protruding out and we can make our embellishments the way that we need to make our embellishments. So now we are going to put an embellishment with a pearl right in the middle here, and we are going to do that with 2 11/0 seed beads, and I'm going to use my rose gold. So I'm going to pick up an 11/0, and then I'm going to pick up one of my pearls, and then I'm going to pick up an 11/0, just like this, and I'm coming out of this side of this 8/0. I'm going to go into the same side of the opposite 8/0, just like this, and I am going to pull this down. And I'm doing this all very gently as not to disturb the organization of my beads. Just like that. So when you pull it down, you don't want to pull so hard that you push these 8/0s in towards your bead or your pearl embellishment. You want them to stand. So no slack, but don't pull them so tight you distort it. Then pick up an 11/0 and go into the pearl. Hold on to the pearl, pull your thread through, and then just kind of pull and tighten that 11/0 right next to the 11/0 you previously placed. Now we're going to pick up one more 11/0, and we're going to anchor this side. So we're going to go through, that 11/0 was weird, let me get another one. We're going to go through the 8/0 on the opposite side from which we started this embellishment, and just pull that down. And this is what you have now. It's what it looks like. Now you're going to go from this 8/0 directly down into this 11/0 from the top towards the pearl, like this. And pull your thread through. Don't pull it so hard that you pull your bead out of place, but it is going to move slightly out to the side. Then we are going to pick up, let me see how many I did on my original here. We are going to pick up 3 11/0 seed beads, and I'm using my rose gold color again. So I'm going to pick up 3, and I'm going to go from out the bottom of this bead into the 8/0 here and pull this up. Of course, it has to do all kinds of weird things, just straighten it out. And I am wrong here. I want 15/0 seed beads, not 11/0s. I am sorry. Lately, I just don't have it together, guys. I truly apologize. Everyone's probably saying, why are you teaching me? But you know, hey, I'm human. So Now I'm going to pick up 15 O seed beads, and I am going to pick up 3 of them and see how that works. If I need 4, I will do 4, but I'm going to try 3. I'm coming out of the bottom of this 11O. I'm going to go into the 8O here. Just like that. That's much better. And then we are going to pick up 3 more 15O seed beads. And we're going to go up through the bottom of this 11O, closest to us, right in top of the pearl. So we're going to go from the pearl side into that 11O seed bead and up through it, like this. Then we're going to go into the 8O above it, here. And then we're going to go down into this 11O here. So right down towards the pearl into the 11O. And just push everything back in place if it starts distorting, and then pick up 3 15O seed beads, and we're coming out of the top of this 11O. We're going to go into the 8O that has the clasping anchored to it. And pull that down like that. Now we are going to pick up 3 15O seed beads, and we're going to go from the 8O we're in to the bottom of the 11O on top of the pearl here, just like this. So from the pearl side out, and then into this 8O seed bead here. Pull this all nice and tight. Make sure everything is arranged pretty, looks good. And then we are going to go ahead and turn this piece over, and you're going to sew into the 11Os on the original part here. So you're coming out of the 8O. We're going to go into these 3 11Os on the back. And they're nice and tight, so let me see if I can get through here. If not, we'll sew through the 15Os on the front. So if you have a problem doing this, then you can always sew through the 15Os on the front. All we need to do is get down to this 8O seed bead. So I'm going through these 11Os on the back. I'm going to make sure I didn't distort anything on the front. And then I'm going to go into this 8O seed bead here. Now I'm just straightening everything out, and I'm going to pick up 3 8O seed beads and go into the opposite side of the 8O I'm coming out of, right here. Pull this down and sew back through it. So we're just securing this so that it stays together nice, and we can put our little embellishment on it. And then we're also going to work through it to finish up this unit here. So now we are going to just straighten everything out, and then we're going to pick up a 11O seed bead, and I'm going to use my Montana Gold color. And I'm going to come from this side of this bead into the opposite bead in the opposite side at a diagonal. So straight across here, and pull this down. Pull it nice and neat, make sure nothing's distorted, and then come up into the next side 8O right here. If you feel like it's not holding together nice and it's not nice and neat, then you can sew through the whole thing again. But you want to be coming out the side bead here, and then we're going to use our 11O seed beads this time, and I'm sure it's 11O, and I'm going to use my Montana Gold color, and we are going to pick up, actually, am I sure it's 11O? I'm not sure it's an 11O. It's a 15O. You guys, I'm so sorry. I made this design yesterday, and I'm trying to remember what I did because my memory, it's not that great. So we're going to pick up 515-0 in the Montana Gold. So very sorry, guys. I'm pretty sure, yes. Okay. So now we are going to pick up 515-0s. We're going to go from here to this 8-0 here. And pull this down. Just like that. Then pick up 515-0s and work your way around, going into all the side units of the 8-0s. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. So I've got 5. I'm going from this 8-0 into the one that is on the side of the clasping. So I just have to go into it like this. Pull this up like that. And then I'm going to go into this 8-0 here. Pull this through. My little 11-0s look funny there. And then go down into the 8-0 on this side. So you're just hopping up into this middle one. You're going to then go down into the one on this side. Just ignore the 11-0s on the sides of them. And then we're going to pick up 5 15-0 seed beads. And we're going to go from this one into the 8-0 on the side of the unit here. Now, we could do something with these 11-0s here if they keep pulling apart, but I think I'm going to ignore that for the moment. If it has major issues, then you'll never see this and I'll redo it and do another video. But I'm going to leave it for as it is for now, but I think I could do something with that. Anyway, let's pick up 5 11-0 seed beads here. And we're going to go from this 8-0 to this one. Now, if you notice as you come through, one spot isn't quite filled with your 15-0s, you can always add an extra 15-0. I noticed when I made mine yesterday that one side seemed a little bit short. I had a little slack of thread, so I just picked up one more 15-0. But it should fill in the entire space like that, and that is your first unit. Now you're going to come down into the 8-0 seed bead on the bottom of the unit here. So just come through here, and we're going to start our next unit. Okay, to start the second unit, you want to pick up 12 11-0 seed beads onto your needle, and I am using my Montana Gold color. You're going to drop it down to the 8-0 seed bead you're coming out of, and then you're going to go into the opposite side of that 8-0 seed bead and pull these beads into a circle like this. Now you're going to go into the first 3 11-0s on your circle. Just go through 3 of them like this, and then pull your needle through. That will tighten your circle back up, and you can then pick up your 8-0 seed bead. So pick up an 8-0, and then go into the next 3 11-0s on your piece, just like this. Now you're going to put your thumb over these beads and hold it between your finger and your thumb so that you can guide this 8-0 down between these beads and still keep some tension on the circle like this. And that way you can pop that 8-0 seed bead between the 11-0s, and it's protruding out. There's a little piece of thread underneath it like this. This is what it should look like. Now you're going to turn your piece, pick up another 8-0, and go through the next 3 11-0s on your piece, just like this. Again, I'm just going to put my thumb and finger over it, try to untwist that, and just lodge that 8-0 between the 11-0s like this. It will be protruding out. Your 11 O's will be parted somewhat, and there will be a piece of thread there. That's how it should be. Now, I'm just going to give myself a little bit more slack by pulling on my beads a little. I'm going to pick up another 8-0, and I'm going to go into the next 3 11 O's, but not the 8-0 that I'm attaching to, just the 3 11 O's here. And I'm going to bring this down. This one usually is a little bit more difficult to pop in, so I'm going to untwist him and work with him. There. Now I have all of them there. Now I'm going to grab the whole thing and just gently pull it down so that my 11 O's are not so high on the 8-0 there, which isn't really working. So let me get these down just a little bit, just like that. Now I am going to ignore this 8-0 and go across into the other side and pick up the 11 O's. And I will go into the 8-0 behind them also, just like this. Now I'm going to pull this down, get that piece of thread to go underneath that 8-0 and tighten it so that it pulls my little diamond tight into a nice shape, just like this. And yes, there's a piece of thread under each one, and that's okay. Make sure they're all aligned nice, because at this point you can loosen and tighten the thread as you need to. And then we're going to make a embellishment over the top with our pearl. So I'm going to use 11 0 seed beads in my rose gold color. I'm going to pick up 1 11 0 and then a pearl, and then 1 11 0. I'm going to cross the unit and go into the bead opposite, but go in on the same side. So I'm going straight across like this. And I'm just going to gently pull this across and position it in the middle of my unit. And I'm doing this gently because at this point you can distort everything. So you don't want any slack, but you don't want it so tight that it's pulling your 8-0 seed beads weird. Then pick up an 11 0 and let's anchor this side, going down into the pearl again. Just like this. Hold on to that pearl and pull that 11 0 down next to the previous one. And here you can give a pretty good tug and tighten things up a lot better. Now you can pick up an 11 0 seed bead and go into the opposite side of the 8-0 we started our embellishment in and pull this down. Now you can give a pretty good little tug too. And your bead, your pearl is in there nice and neat. Now we're going to switch to 15 0 seed beads, and we are going to use the rose gold color. Go down into the 11 0 seed bead from the outside in. So you're going down towards the pearl. Go through that 11 0 and then pick up 3 15 0 seed beads, and you're going to go from the bottom of this 11 0 into the 8-0 at the end of the unit here. Pull this down. Then we're going to turn and pick up 3 15 0 seed beads. And we're going to go up through the bottom of the 11 0 seed bead right above the pearl here. So up through the bottom of it, just like this. Push the needle through. Lay those nice and neat, but don't pull them so tight that you pull that little 11 0 out of whack. And then go into the 8-0 seed bead on top of the 11 0 we just went through, right here. Pull your thread through. And then go down into the 11 0 next to the one that we just put our embellishment in. So go down into the bead towards the pearl. Pick up 3 15 0 seed beads. And then go up into the 8-0 seed bead that we're attaching to. that we have attached this unit to, right up here. Then again, 3 more 15-0 seed beads. And then we're going to go up through the bottom of the 11-0 above the pearl here. So we're going to go from the pearl side out like this and pull these down. Then we're going to go into our 8-0 seed bead. Now, we're going to sew through the top 15-0s this time instead of turning it over and doing the 11-0s, simply because I think it's going to be easier. The bottom beads are a little tighter than I expected them to be. So I'm going to go from the 8-0 down into my 11-0 and then into my 3 15-0 seed beads, just like this. And I'm going to pull my thread through. I'm going to straighten everything up, make sure it looks good, and I'm going to go into this 8-0 seed bead right here. Now you're going to pick up 3 8-0 seed beads onto your needle. And then you're going to go into the opposite side of the 8-0 you're coming out of, just like this. Pull these down, like that. Now we're going to sew around the entire thing so that we can make sure that it is nice and secure and strong, and it won't fall apart when we try to embellish it. So we're going to go all the way around. Sorry, my fingers are cramping. There we go. And then into this 8-0 here. Straighten out my unit a little bit, give a little tug, and then I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead in my Montana gold color, and I'm coming out of this bead on this side. I'm going to go into the opposite bead on the opposite side in a diagonal stitch here, just like this, and just pull that down on top. Now I'm coming out of this bottom 8-0. I'm going to come into the side 8-0 here. Pull this through. Straighten everything out so that it looks nice. And now I am going to go to my 15-0 seed beads in my Montana gold color, and I'm going to pick up 5 of them. I have 5 on my needle. I'm going to go from this bead into this side 8-0 that's sticking out right here. I'm going to back off just a little bit here. Pull these down and lay them next to the 15-0s you did previously. Pick up 5 more 15-0 seed beads onto your needle. Now, we're going to go in from this bead, we're going to go into this side bead in the extension between the units here. So we're going to go straight up into this 8-0 here. Just go towards the top of the bead and you should be able to slide straight through. Pull these beads down, and then we have to go through this top 8-0 here. So again, place your needle towards the top of the bead and pull through. You're using a small thread, so you should have plenty of room to move through these beads just fine. Now we're coming out of this top bead, we're going to go into this side bead here. Pull your thread through and pick up 5 15-0 seed beads. And then go into the 8-0 that's sticking out on this side. Pull it down. Pick up 5 more 15-0 seed beads. And then we're going to go from this 8-0 into this one here. I want to straighten everything out. If you need to, if your little 11-0s tip too much or whatever, just kind of rearrange everything before you set this stitch, and then go ahead and go into the bottom. Now, I didn't do it on the first one on camera, but what you should do before you start your next one is just sew through this 8/0 unit again. So I'm coming through the bottom here, and I'm going to sew through the side, and again go towards the tops of the beads. You should be able to slide right through. The reason I'm doing this is it will set your last embellishment and set your entire unit nicely so that you don't have to worry about anything coming loose when you start your next unit. Plus, this is the extension between units. It gets movement, and this will give it more strength. So this is what you have. Now, every unit is exactly the same from this point. You can back up the video and watch this unit and just continue all the way through. It's exactly the same. So at this point, we would just pick up our 12 11/0 seed beads and work through it exactly as we did this unit. The first one may have been a little bit more confusing, but this one is nice and clear instructions, so you can copy that for 2 or 3 units until you get it down, and then go to length, and we will be back. So go ahead and keep making these units until you have 11 units. So I'm just counting each purl, and I have 11. So as far as length is concerned, you may want to make 1 or 2 less units, or you may want to just extend by making another unit at the very end of your right angle weave, your 8/0 seed beads. So let me get you in close, see what I'm talking about. Between each unit, of course, you've created the right angle weave that you connect through. So you want to make sure you end there. If you need just a little bit more length, make 2 of them. If you need less length, make less units. And if it's still not quite right, you can add 2 units at the end of that if you need to. So with mine, this is measuring from the center of my toggle to the end 7 inches. Now, I just want mine to be a little over 7 inches, so I'm going to add my clasping to this length. However, I have a long oval shaped clasping, so I'm getting more length with my clasping. So you have to keep in mind the length of your clasp, measure it, and then when you're about a 1/2 inch short of the length that you want, you will be ready to put on your clasping. Regardless if you make 2 units at the end or not of this right angle weave, you want to make sure that you make another unit, put your little 11/0 seed bead on top of it, and then you're ready to go. However, after you have sewn through to secure it, you want to come out the side of it. You do not want to come out the very end one that we've been coming out to put on the next unit. You want to be on the side here. And then you're going to pick up 2 11/0 seed beads and an 8/0. I'm using my Montana Gold and then my Rose Gold 8/0, just like this. And then I am going to go through my clasp. And if I wanted even a little bit more length to make sure that it goes through my clasping well this end, I could put 2 8/0 seed beads here. But I think I'm going to be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this 1 8/0 here. And I'm going to pull my thread through and bring my clasp down to my 8/0 seed bead. Then I'm going to pick up 2 more 11/0s, and I'm going to go through, I'm going to skip this very end 8/0 right here, and I'm going to go through the side 8/0 here. I'm going to go through it, avoid the 15 O's on the other side of it, and pull this through. And I'm just going to pull it down until I can get it in order here. And this is what it should look like. Now, I'm coming out of this bead here. I have to go through this one in the center between my 15 O's on my embellishment. Go through it. I'm going to turn this slightly so I can handle it better. And then I'm going to go through this side bead again. And I'm going to go through both the 11 O's above it. that I just put on, if I can, come here, and then up through that 8-0 and then through the loop of the clasp, just like this. Then I'm going to go back down into the 8-0, into the 2 11-0s on this side. I'm going to turn it so I can handle it better and pull this down. Now I'm going to go back into the 8-0 I started in here on the side and pull this down. Then I have to go into this middle one between my embellishment of 15 O's right into this unit. And then I have to come up in this one. Now, because I have these 11 O's going up over this 8-0, I want to secure it. So I'm just going to come up through one 11-0 above this 8-0 here. And then I'm going to go into the 8-0 that I skipped when I put my clasping on. And then I'm going to go down into the 11-0 and 8-0 on the other side of that one that we initially skipped. Go down into the 8-0 below that 11-0 and pull this tight. Now I have to go back into my center here. Right here on my unit. And again, I'm going to turn so I can come up this side. And this time I'm going to go up both 11 O's on this side. And the 8-0 if I can get it all at once, and through the clasp, just like this. And then pull my thread through. And sew through this one more time by going down into the 8-0, the 2 11-0s on the side, and here I can just go directly into this 8-0, or you can go all the way around the unit again if you'd like, but I think I might be able to get away with just going into this 8-0 here, and then up into the 2 on this side, and then into the 8-0 and the clasp. This way it gives me another pass through there without going through the entire unit down here. But now we need to go back down and get into this unit so we can tie off. So let's go into the 8-0 under the clasping here and the 2 11-0s on this side. Oops, let me get into camera here. Right there. Pull this down. And I'm going to back off just a little bit here. And I'm going to go into this 8-0 and pull it all together, see what it looks like. Looks pretty good. So I can now, I'm coming out of this 8-0 right here. I can go into my center 8-0. Then I'm going to go up these 15 O's and the 11-0 right underneath this 8-0 on the side here. And up into the 8-0. Then I'm going to go ahead and travel down the 15 O's and go into the next 8-0 here. So I'm just moving down my unit. Now I'm going to turn it over. And I'm coming out right between this 8-0 and this column of 15 O's. I'm going to go under the column of 15 O's, real close to the 8-0, and I'm going to situate my thread so that I can make a loop and just get on that thread bridge. So I'm trying to situate so that my loop will, once I pull my knot, will go down between the 8-0 and the 15 O's. So now I'm going to pull my knot down slowly and go between those beads. Now I can go ahead and go down the 15 O's, or actually, yeah, we're not in there, so let's go down the 15 O's. If I can pick them up and go into the next 8/0 here. And now I can tie a knot between this 8/0 and this column of 11/0s that are on the back. So I'm just going to go underneath. Actually, I think I'll go into the 11/0s first. Here. And then I'm going to tie a knot right here. So I'm just going to go under those 11/0s. I can pull my thread and situate my loop so that when I pull it down, it's between the 11/0 and the 8/0 there. And now I'm just going to sew around this unit on the back here. So I'm going to go through this 8/0 and then go into this 8/0. And I'm just going to cut off my thread. You can sew around and tie as much as you want as long as you don't distort your original thread path. You can secure it as much as you would like. So this is where I am going to end mine. I'm going to pull my thread towards the back here, cut this off, leave a little bit of a tag that's a little too much. And you can see this tag I've left. I don't know why I can't stay in position here. And then we're just going to get a flame close to it, or you can use your thread zapper and just melt that thread down like that. And now I have a bracelet. So let's measure it, see what we've got, and then I'll try it on. Make sure that this is going to be narrow enough to pass that long toggle through here, because that end is really long. Let me see what I've got. I've got about a 7.5, depending upon where my toggle connects to the other end, about a 7.5 inch bracelet, maybe a little less, 7.25, something like that. And then I'm going to try this and see if it works, and I will show you what it looks like. Yeah, actually it's perfect. Let me move all my stuff out of the way and we'll look at it. So this is what it looks like on the wrist. Here's my clasping. Looks good. It fits nice. I have a lot of movement, so it's not too tight, but it's not falling into my palm, so it's just about right. So that's what that looks like. Let me take it off, let you look at it again. It really turns out pretty. It's a very simple stitch, a very simple looking type of bracelet, just kind of geometric, and it turns out really pretty. I really like it. Get you in even closer, and that's what that looks like. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please consider perhaps subscribing, hitting the notification bell so I can bug you again. And if you really liked it and you want to make me happy, just hit that little like button. That's always a nice thing to see. So anyway, that's how you make this, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.